Here's where the psychology gets darker. When a child grows up too fast, they don't just lose their childhood. They lose the ability to express emotions safely. So what actually happens to a child who has to become an adult too soon? They say, enjoy your childhood. But for some people, childhood wasn't something they got to enjoy. It was something they had to survive. There's a certain There's a certain type of person you've probably met. They're mature, calm under pressure. They don't complain much. They handle responsibilities better than most adults. But if you look closer, you'll realize something uncomfortable. They didn't grow up early by choice. They were forced to. It usually doesn't start big. It starts small. A child notices tension in the house, arguments that never seem to end, a parent who's always stressed, or maybe completely absent, and slowly, that child begins to understand something they shouldn't have to understand. Things are not okay. At first, they just observe, but then they adapt. They stop asking for toys, they stop complaining, they stop acting like a child, because deep down, they feel like they don't have permission to be the one. Over time, that child becomes the strong one, the one who stays quiet, the one who doesn't cry, the one who handles things alone. Not because they're naturally strong, but because they learned no one is coming to save them. So they start saving themselves. They solve problems on their own. They hide their emotions. They become emotionally independent way too early. And to the outside world, they look impressive, mature, responsible, wise beyond their years. But what people don't see is that strength came from pressure, not peace. When they cried, they were ignored. When they spoke up, they were dismissed. When they needed comfort, there was none. So their brain adapts. It says, emotions are not safe. Don't feel too much. Handle it yourself. And just like that, they become someone who feels everything, but shows nothing. As they grow older, this turns into something called hyper-independence. They hate asking for help. They don't trust easily. They feel uncomfortable relying on others, because their entire life taught them one thing. If I don't handle it, no one will. Even in relationships, they struggle. Not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to depend on someone without feeling weak. So they carry everything alone. Stress, pain, responsibility, silently. Now, here's the part most people never notice. These individuals are often the ones everyone else depends on. They're the listener, the problem solver, the emotionally stable one. But no one asks them, who do you go to? And the truth is, they often don't have an answer, because they've spent their whole life being strong for others, that they never learned how to be soft for themselves. From a psychological perspective, this is called early emotional responsibility, when a child is exposed to adult problems too soon. Their brain shifts into survival mode. Instead of developing naturally, they skip stages. They become more alert, more aware, more serious. It's like their brain says, growing up is not optional. It's necessary. And while this creates strength, it also creates emotional scars. As adults, these people often overthink everything, struggle to relax, feel guilty for resting, have trust issues, fear being vulnerable, and the most painful one? They don't know how to receive love. Without questioning it, because deep down, they're still that child who learned that love was inconsistent. Here's the truth. People don't like to hear. Just because someone looks strong doesn't mean they're okay. And just because someone grew up early doesn't mean they healed early. Sometimes, it just means they learned how to hide it better. So if you're someone who had to grow up too fast, understand this. Your strength is real. But so is your pain. You were never supposed to carry that much, that early. And maybe it's time to give yourself something you never had back then. Permission to slow down, to feel, to be human. Because growing up too fast doesn't mean you have to stay that way forever.